Google Drive.
Might have to start doing that kind of stuff. Welcome, everybody, to Discussing Tabletop. Hello. I'm still suffering through random update changes for... yes, I was talking to Worm about my story of suffering. Anyway, it has been an event. Anyway, beyond all that, how's everybody's day going? Hope everybody's doing well.
I'm doing all right.
We've reached October. Man. Getting close to that end of the year. Woo, 2025.
Okay, I do want to say that noise I was hearing, I hear it on your stream, meaning you're probably using the wrong microphone on OBS.
Let me make sure this is... I am. Hello, that better? That's good. Cool. It says it's making noise, so I assume it is. Yay?
Yeah.
Cool. I think it's working now, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I've switched it.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just heard you.
I think
Cool.
what I did is when I made sure it was default to that too, or something. I don't know. Or something reset somewhere. Maybe when I looked at that and had reset to a different microphone, I brain not thinking correctly, switched out on my Discord then when all these things got reset, you know.
Yeah, you basically, I think you set it all to the wrong mic, thinking it was a different mic.
Yeah. Well, I think the one that was on OBS was the one it had changed to with all the update or something like that. I don't know. I'm not 100%
Anyway.
sure. It's working.
I'm glad I was listening.
Yeah, thank you. The amount of
Because I turned it up. Yeah, because I'm like, man, you're kind of quiet than normal. And then I turned it up, and then I heard that buzzing, and I'm like, oh, okay. I think you're on the wrong mic on that, too.
You weren't wrong. I was indeed on the wrong mic, too. Shall we dive into our many topics that we have today to discuss?
Sure.
Alright, cool. We'll start with, hey, some psionics got updated. Everybody loves some good psionics that Wizards have been sharing with us. So again, this is like the previous update to a older Unearthed Arcana. This is their Psion. They've updated it. So, yeah. The energy dice, the modes, and spellcasting were the big things they were kind of changing. So it looks like they wanted to make the energy dice more flexible, easier to regain. The modes have apparently been cut completely. And then they got some new cantrips or stuff there, too.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, I actually went and looked through this earlier so I could comment. I mean, it's basically a wizard warlock, you know, or sorcerer warlock type.
So it's kind of like somewhere in between a sorcerer and a warlock. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a sorcerer in that they have like their, you know, first off, they're full casters, and then they basically have then they have their energy die, and they have the psionic discipline options, which are so it's like okay, they kind of get some invocations. They almost have some meta magic type stuff, you know. So it's fine. That's my overall look at it. It's fine.
I thought the modes were neat and could have been done better, but I do see why they were cut, because they were just using up bonus actions that you're already using for a bunch of stuff, and you know, weren't unique enough. So I can see that. Better spellcasting changing a little bit. Okay, cool. Again, I think it's that thing of like you said it there. Is it different enough from the other spellcasters? Because we already have like a lot of spellcasting overlap. So I don't know.
Honestly, it's hard to say.
Hmm.
Like, it's fine. Like, they get their own spell lists, they kind of, which makes them fill a different niche.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and it's not like anything. See, that's the thing. Like, this is kind of just the problem with 5e, is everything overlaps with everything else.
Yes. Agreed.
Like, that's kind of why I'm kind of like, it's good for for groups of players who want to who don't want to have to synergize. And that's fine, but it kind of makes everything feel a little samey.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue there, that, you know, you kind of have to deal with it kind of feeling samey. And I think that was the thing that I thought about this, was, is it different enough to not feel samey here? Like, in previous versions of Psion, they felt very different. And even, like, older...
Oh my gosh, I just realized Psion's coming out in the Dark Sun book.
Yeah.
That's another cue that they're really working on a Dark Sun book.
Yep. No.
Not only the other keys, but the fact that they're really trying to get this to work.
Yeah, I definitely figure like that, because psionics is a big part of Dark Sun. It's a major part of it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're trying to get it kind of functioning.
Sorry, I just had that realization. Like, the dice are fine. Like, again, they're mixing some mechanics here, and I think that's fine.
It's a remix.
It's
not necessarily bad.
Yeah,
remix,
it's a remix. It's a remix, which is fine. Yeah, like, actually, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's like, I don't think there's anything super crazy here. Like, the last... I mean, to be fair, like, let's see, what kind of... They have their psionic die, which is kind of their special thing. Their energy die, I mean.
Yes.
But, I mean, it works a lot like a fighter's, what is that subclass? Well, also rogues now, too, also kind of use their die in that same way. So it's kind of a mechanic they've blended into a lot of their current classes. The martial... What's the one that, like, gets a bunch of maneuver?
Fighter subclass that gets the maneuvers. I can't remember it. Stop my head. Sorry. It's like, you say that and I'm like, ooh, what was it?
Battle Man. No, that's the simple one. No. Eldritch Knight. What's the last one? Is it? Oh, it's it is Battle Master. Yeah, that's the one. Battle Master. Anyway, so kind of like a mix of a sorcerer, Battle Master, and Warlock is almost like, kind of almost is the feeling I get.
I'm trying to open up the old... I found the old sign. I had to kind of open up because I wanted to...
And again, I actually think that's fine. It's like... It's actually better if your mechanics are cohesive for the type of game 5e's trying to do.
I agree. Yeah, no, I can see that. That's definitely not a terrible thing to have. Okay, I can see the modes being gone. We still have the disciplines, which are basically warlock abilities. So yeah, it's got kind of its own like warlocky things on top of being a full spellcaster. So, and then it's got the dice to fuel things. It's basically kind of what it was. So
yeah, I mean, better than their attempt in the 2012 version, honestly.
Oh god, I can't even remember. That was
the 2012 version was basically build your own build your own class. It was weird, and it basically, and as a result, it was you could easily break it. And even though a lot of the options were bad, there were also a lot of them which were overpowered. And it's like they never really took the time to fix it. And my friend always wanted to use it because it was so versatile. But, you know, everyone in our group at the time, like, didn't want to allow it because it's like, no, I know you're just going to pick a lot of the broken options. Even though he would build his character around having, you know, my friend, actually, you know him. It's Luckin.
Yes.
He loves to build characters like super based almost entirely on like an idea. But the problem is he then takes that and makes it mechanically perfect as well. So he's like kind of a double. It's like he's primarily an actor if you like among those player archetypes.
Yeah.
But he also is kind of secondary power gamer.
I'm going to link the old sign if people want to compare it, just as a note there. So I was looking
at that as well.
Yeah, so that's the one from May of this year. Like again, because Sign's been around. But I wasn't thinking Dark Sun until we got the basic Dark Sun classes. Sort of like we took a while to get to it, but so I mean, it looks fine. I think that's the kind of thing I can say about it is they've updated all the subclasses a little bit. They've removed the modes, kind of changed around psionic energy dice, changed the spellcasting a little bit. So it is an updated version of it, a little simpler, but not in a bad way. Again, I think it's at least watching action economy better than before as a base class, which is good. And after that, I think it's fine, kind of interesting, just basic updates. So if you want to check it out, I mean, this is the kind of thing I think we're going to see, at least within the next year, probably a Dark Sun book. I would not be surprised at this point in time. It screams it with all the actions they've been taking and the things they've been working on, so. Anyway. We can continue on if you wish, or there's more you wish to dive into when it comes to this. Good so.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about some D&D related video game stuff. So the first thing to talk about is one of them games they were working on, it's canceled.
No, that doesn't. I saw that come from a mile away.
Yeah, so the Starbreeze game they were working on, that is a people that had been working on. They were behind the Payday franchise, so they were working on a co-op game that was planned as a games as service product. Man, it died. I'm not gonna lie. It sucks that people were laid off because of the cancellation, but the Payday people doing a co-op games as service D&D game, I don't think anybody wanted that. Co-op D&D game, I can see that. Games as service, heck no.
I mean, it's kind of already the model, and I think they already have that for their D&D mobile game. I forget what that's called.
Yeah. And so there's still 4 other games they're working on. Action adventure by Giant Skull, a survival game by Gameloft, and 2 games in the in-house studio owned by Hasbro. So yeah. It's... Again, this is not necessarily bad they're working on a lot of games, but I feel like they want another Baldur's Gate 3 and they're just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping for the best and not actually learning lessons at all. So, yeah, another game dying and apparently, taking some damage with them. But here's the other thing to talk about this on High Blaze. Hasbro's opened up their own video game related studio that's for D&D, but it's different from the video game studio they already had. So, yeah. Anyway. It's a new video game studio in Montreal focusing on supporting D&D video games. Wizards of the Coast Incorporated, focusing on new content for the franchise, expanding the digital games. It will have 200 jobs. Good for jobs. Again, this is one of those weird things that I'm glad people can get some jobs from this, but this I don't know what this really is supposed to be, because it's not replacing their other studio, Invoke Studios.
So again, this is to focus on their franchise model that they've been talking about. So it's supposed to organize. It sounds like it looks like it's supposed to organize in again, make it easier for other people to make games that can make them money.
Yeah.
They, oh gosh, I still don't see this going well, because to do that, you really need solid world building, and they haven't done world building since 2nd edition.
Yeah, it's sort of like there's been
Which is to say, Wizards of the Coast basically never did world building.
The Wizards of the Coast has done little bits here and there, but they've never dove into it like 2nd edition did. And a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, they've had a mixed track record on trying to update the world building. Sometimes it's successful, most of the time,
I mean, again, it's okay.
The many resets
So,
of Faerun, you know, I mean, like that. That's the one I can point out to, like, be like, yes, it's a mess over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. They haven't done a great job with any of the minimal world building they've done, but like, I feel like they're banking everything right now on the success of Baldur's Gate 3. Like, everyone's gonna want to make sequels or spin-offs or that kind of stuff, aren't they?
Yes.
'Cause that's like the only world building that's been done
recently
that's been like super popular.
And I don't think anyone that's, especially like if, like, according to the article, people might speculate that this new company might focus on Baldur's Gate 4. I don't think the people they have or the people they're dealing with can make Baldur's Gate 4 to be Baldur's Gate 3 sequel. You know, they can make a Baldur's Gate 4, which might be fun, but it won't be the Baldur's Gate 3 they're expecting. You know,
Nope.
They found lightning in a bottle. They don't recognize that. They want to do it again, and they're banking on so much for that when, yeah, you are right. Most of the major world building that has actually been decent and there was there. Larian built some stuff. Not quite from the ground up, but they took together a lot of scattered pieces and crap lore and put it together into something great. Again,
I also would not be surprised if several of them had some 2D books open, 2E books open.
Yeah. And how much is R.L. Salvador giving them stuff? Or whatever his name. I think I was saying his name wrong. I never say his name right. But, you know, the Dritz series has written so much Forgotten Lore lore. That's a lot of source of the stuff in Forgotten Realms. Not Wizards.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, we can talk about how well developed Forgotten Realms is. Yeah, it's 2nd edition and one of their writers who's very prolific. And a couple little pieces here and there in between. So, yeah, no, I agree. The franchise model, I don't know. I'm not against them trying it, but I agree with you. I don't think they have the basics for it, you know? We kind of see how mixed bag it happens for other properties that have a more established base, you know, for a lot of franchising and stuff. You need something like the power of, I'm gonna be honest, Disney, and even they screw up in places, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, Disney's problem is their desire to hold on to their stuff. And so same with Nintendo. Like, Nintendo could be a lot bigger if they just let people do stuff and tried to encourage people to do stuff in the right way rather than, you know, suing them every 2 seconds. Disney would be the same way, but it's not. I can tell what they're really banking on. They're looking at Games Workshop and going, they've been successful for a long time. I wonder if we can do that.
But Game Workshop has issues with what they do, but it is successful.
Huh?
Well, again, like,
yeah,
the mess of, like, writing and lore and stuff, and, like, everybody can write a book, and it kind of creates things there, and they have to go in and then, like, you know, clarify things in their own books, or just leave them ignored to the wind. And so, but yeah, Games Workshop is, again, it's also like, I think it was a firestorm for their recent success. They were never not successful, but I'm not going to lie, pandemic really lit a fire under there. Because people had time to do that kind of thing and dive into this. You know?
Whereas Hasbro screwed up their attempts at the pandemic. They got into it too late, and they started to stockpile super late, which is what caused the whole issue for them.
Yeah.
Where they lied to their investors about their stuff, saying they were stockpiling for the future, when in reality they were stockpiling for something that had already passed. And then they lied to their people about it, and then their investors about it. And any investor who stayed is probably a douchebag who doesn't mind no, not debauchery. What's the word I was looking for?
I like the word debauchery there.
Douchebag.
It's not correct, but I like it being
I think
there.
I think I was thinking douchebaggery, but
debauchery.
Doesn't mind their douchebaggery, and therefore is supporting Wizards in their downward spiral. And they're probably just people who are looking for money, not for actual integrity.
Yes. I mean, unfortunately, we end up seeing that in a lot of places.
I mean, pretty much every company ends up there, but it also tends to kill companies. So,
look, I'm not gonna lie. There have been things this week that scream something to worry about, like a $55 billion buyout, apparently in cash, to EA.
Yep. No, and that's the thing. Like, these big companies, which built on, like, basically terrible things, are really starting to suffer.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's actually kind of, like, that's the thing. I do find it funny that, like, when I learned, like, EA, this was, like, a few years ago. Like, not super recent, but also not super long ago, where it's all, like, apparently, like, the reason they were putting out those sports games, like, every year is because a large portion of their income was people just buying those sports games, which would barely change from year to year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That was with EA trying to do all this microtransaction stuff. The problem is they weren't making good games, so people stopped buying them. Ubisoft is, I feel like, in the same boat right now. Activision, at least people are still pretty set on certain things with Activision, like, for example, World of Warcraft.
It's
Blizzard.
Yeah, it's a mess. I think it's just, that's a big industry, and Wizards trying to, like, they're taking, again, I feel like they're looking at the industry and taking completely wrong directions and lessons from said industry.
Lessons,
yeah. And I mean, again, like, we saw them try to do stuff related to things you would do in a video game industry to D&D, and it backfired horrifically for them. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I loved the DLC if you bought the big thing for the thing they were building, and then they canceled for the tabletop they were building, and then they canceled the building of the tabletop. So it's like literally I'm just so curious, like, has anything come of that? Because, like, seriously, like, they literally said, like, oh, as part of the big bundle, you'll get the gold dragon miniature in the new thing, and then they canceled that the new tabletop, and they canceled the tabletop. It's just like,
they wanted it to be Baldur's Gate 3, but it was taking too much time and investment to get an infrastructure into something like that for a VTT. And I'm not gonna lie, if they could have pulled it off, it would have been awesome. I think they would have microtransactioned, as you said, to hell, which is the wrong plan to do, and I think that would have probably ruined it. But just the concept behind it was awesome. And I'm not saying you can't sell bundles of tokens. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like they would have nitpicked it like one instead of like a bundle of like 20, and they probably would have overcharged it or something like that,
Yeah.
And give them, they might not even given the basis people need to play with it is the thing I was worried about,
Yeah, that's also a possibility. They would have 100% tied it to D&D Beyond. I mean, you can only get certain things by purchasing their stuff there. But honestly, I still don't know why. I literally think they were just like, our projection that we have from this new AI model we're using said it will lose us money, so we should cancel it. It's like, I feel like that's probably something they did. Because, like, I still don't know why they canceled. Like, yeah, it was taking a long time, but you've only been working on it for, like, a year or two. Baldur's Gate was, 7 years in the making.
That's too long. That's why it's another thing that I feel like
long lead-up times are very common in video game industries, and you're trying to make basically a video game VTT.
And again, I think that's the problem with them going directly into video games a lot more now. They don't have great concepts of time for it, because I think a lot of the Hasbro-related video games we see are things that you can probably churn out pretty quickly. You know, things like, hey, was it Monopoly Go? Because that's Monopoly. That's Hasbro.
Yep.
I don't think that takes a long time. That is a mobile game. They're thinking of stuff like that, where people can just churn out slop and earn money.
Yep. And here's the fun fact. Even I found apparently even phone stuff is starting to not do as well. It's still doing fine. Like, it's still making tons of money, but it's like this has turned into this. You know?
Mm-hmm. It's on decline because, again, like, I think it's they've been doing it for so long, people have like just can't tolerate it anymore. It's like it's just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
So
it's all like, I would be careful if you get into that market right now, because it's kind of, I feel like there's definitely some tides changing there too.
Yeah.
I think people are getting tired of being taken advantage of, and they're starting to work a little bit smarter.
Agreed.
At it.
So, we have a little bit more D&D to finish up today, and that we have some D&D side-based brands. And we can start with the beer. We've talked about the D&D alcohol a couple times, but apparently the one company that puts it out is getting some bringing some fan-favorite alcohols back, the New Holland Brewing. And apparently also with their new batch of D20 brew and mead casket bourbon, they're also going to have a special dice tower set, which is interesting. So get some alcohol in a dice tower. Cool. You know, yeah. So yeah, the dice tower set includes a package that includes a bottle of D20 brew with a dice tower and a special edition dice. And it's coming on sale on November 8th. Yeah, and the other gift set they're having will go on sale on the 17th. But yes, these are apparently drinks they had before. They're just coming back with more of them. I guess people like them enough. Like, again, I'm not the target audience for an alcoholic D&D related thing, but plenty of people probably are. I don't drink, so.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, which sounds interesting, and I don't know.
Oh, they apparently did the dice tower thing with the old one as well.
Oh, neat. So some people are building, I guess, a statue in memorial of Gary Gygax. We're working on it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. This is kind of weird and interesting. They're going to be launching a Kickstarter to run money for it, and they want to put in a park in his hometown, a memorial of him with stone table benches and a statue of him himself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually better, because if they're doing it in his hometown, I'm like, are they just doing it randomly in the middle of somewhere?
No, apparently it's supposed to be in Liberty Park.
How was he born?
Well, that's apparently a place that Gygax liked or chose for some various things, so that's like a place for him that was connected to him. But they will be launching a Kickstarter to raise funds. Let's see here.
He was born in Chicago.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. We can see if it ever really, like, gets anywhere. I mean, like, it's kind of neat. The giant statue of Gygax. Apparently, it's already up.
Oh, and it's by Gail Gygax.
Oh, his widow. Yeah.
She has a hand in this, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Campaign creator is Gygax Memorial Fund, which was founded by Gail Gygax. Okay, that's sorry. Okay, yeah, but it is related to Gygax, which I think is cool. Again, like
yeah, they're hoping
this
to.
Doesn't scream terrible idea to me.
No, I think it's fine. Like, I gotta be honest. I think Gary Gygax was fine when it comes to like many people from his era. Of the people you could talk about, he's not the best
still think
or
he probably.
worst.
I still think it wasn't that great, but he did do something very important. We can't just okay. I'm not someone who's all like, oh, someone did one thing bad, we can't remember them ever. Like, so it's
I do agree on that one.
Started the tabletop industry. It's fine.
There are people that are remembered more that have done way worse. I will put it that way. You know.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you're on. Like, it's like, certainly speaking, there are issues with the way that things were presented in the original D&D and stuff like that, but it was a product of the 70s, and like, you know, yes, maybe Gygax's the best person overall, and I gotta be honest, he was an awful businessman, like terrible businessman. Just not great. Granted, I don't think I think he'd sold off TSR by the time it got to the really litigious time period, because I think the person that bought it after him was the one that was really litigious. But I don't know for sure if he was involved in any of that kind of litigious problems that TSR had early on. I'd have to remember the time periods.
He was. I know he was, because I know there's a lot of things he put out saying, like, oh no, you have to play our version.
Okay. So, he probably started that entire thing, but I do remember, like, the latter ends, it got even worse. So it's probably like, you know, he set a precedent that didn't go well.
He felt... it's so funny, because, like, I saw someone, I think it was Matt Quoville, actually, talking about how, like, yeah, originally he was like, oh yeah, no, like, he was just giving away stuff for free. You know, again, terrible businessman. Because he wanted people to play his game. But, in the end... I think he started to feel a lot more threatened for his like livelihood and stuff, and so he probably got turned tide a little bit, more out of fear. Like again, that's the thing where it's all like some people do things when they're having problems, and they were having problems. That's the thing.
Yeah. Again, if you're interested in this entire thing, it's live now on Kickstarter. I'm gonna be interested to see if it fit. I can see this at least getting its base level, but I'm wondering how far it'll go, you know?
Yeah.
I'm curious. So, thanks. Alright. Then we end our D&D adventures, and we move on to Onyx Path. I feel like they're making a middle finger at World of Darkness, or I should say White Wolf. So, Onyx Path is doing a game called Curseborne, and they have a player's guide that's going to be up for it. And I feel like it's very much so they're like, we had a really cool thing with a lot of World of Darkness stuff. Now we're doing our own thing that's kind of like that, but not. Like, I was reading into this and I'm like, yeah, you're kind of just giving them a middle finger in a lot of ways, I feel like here. So yeah,
they're kind of just doing their own game.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. So I think that's neat. I like Onyx Path, what they did for the 20th anniversary stuff for World of Darkness. Honestly, I think they did a much better job on everything than anything in the 5e brand of White Wolf stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, like, they took a lot of stuff, they updated it, they fixed a lot of the crap lore, and I feel like this is stuff that's not being done now. I guess most of the crap lore is just being ignored at this point.
It's kind of this weird thing where, because I feel like the only thing which they did a mediocre job at was Vampire. Which made everyone hate them, kind of. Not really. They still liked them, but like everyone ignored the vampire lore.
Yeah, you know.
But everyone liked like Changeling. I know is very popular. Like the difference they did, where it's like you are the creatures coming. The basically you're technically as the Changelings, you're the fetches coming back. You know, like it's supposed to be what you are, but then it's like, but they call them Changelings and the other ones are fetches. But anyway.
Yeah, I know you know more about what they did with the Chronicles side of things. I know the old world Darkness. I think they did a decent job on a lot of stuff, but there was like, you know, again, some of the stuff in even like back in the original like writing, it's a crap sandwich trying to fix it up, you know, a shit sandwich that you're trying to dress up as best you can, and maybe get rid of a little bits of that kind of crap on the side, so it's at least, you know, edible. They did a pretty good job with a lot of it. Like looking at some of these like things with like especially Mage. There were some things.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not read their Chronicles Mage, so I don't actually know that one because honestly, that book was gigantic.
Mm.
And I'm just like, I don't want to read this. I think I still own it, and I've never read it.
Yeah. So, this is a very interesting one. The Curseborne stuff here. You know, people like having like a strange like. Again, it feels very World of Darkness. I have a strange like mystical curse on my character that gives me abilities and stuff like that. But it does go in a different direction than what we've seen before, because none of World of Darkness really didn't do this kind of stuff. So it's its own things. So again, it's a different take on a similar genre, and I think
Yeah, no, it's the same genre. It's an extension of the same genre.
But again, I feel like also without like probably the ghost of White Wolf on your back, Onyx Path has done a lot better on their own stuff anyway, so I'm happy
That's
to
fair.
see them.
I mean, I would love to see them, this Curseborne thing, maybe build into something that has, that rivals White Wolf,
Yeah. Especially with the
Or,
direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the weird direction 5E's going. The White Wolf 5E.
Honestly, and here's the thing too, like, it sucks that they kind of stuck with the White Wolf name, because they didn't, outside of some of the mechanics, they really didn't take much, and like the terminology and stuff, they really didn't take much. Like, they could actually, if they really wanted to, probably do a Pathfinder remaster and just turn all their books into their own.
Yeah. Definitely. So, but that's an interesting little one from Onyx Path. I thought that was kind of neat, and it was kind of cool to see that.
Yep.
Now,
Probably at some point.
Yeah. In the Borg direction of things, we have Vast Grimm, which is, again, Borg is, I think, the kind of base game, and there's a lot of things based off of that. And Vast Grimm was one that was it had its own unique style, and was kind of exploring, and apparently the original creator is kind of doing a relaunch of the game under Kickstarter. I guess he had some problems with his control, because it says it's now under his full control. So I'm guessing when he originally did it, he probably got some help from some people, and that created some kind of issue somewhere, because these kind of things can happen.
I'm gonna tell you something about publishing.
Mhm.
And that is, if you've got a great idea and publishers figure that out, they're going to want to try and yank as much of it as possible. And if you're kind of new to the industry and don't really know what you're doing, you can get pretty screwed over.
So yeah, I assume there were some problems with that. So now he has his Escaping Stasis version, which is kind of like a relaunch of the entire thing, and he wants to give more support. Yeah.
So I assume it's related to that, like, because that's pretty common, like, for people to kind of, like, for publishers to be like, no, we actually own most of it, and so, like,
I think it was something like that, but like it wasn't as like it wasn't like a full craziness, because it seems like they were doing a lot of crowdfunding for the game back in the day. Back in the day, I mean, like 2021. Apparently, he had the initial campaign crowdfunding, but I guess like. It's just the people he was working with to spend that, then the publishers he was working with then to get it out there. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that, like, again, I'm like, without actually looking into it, I can still say that with like 60% certainty and that's not very high, but again, not looked into it, that is along the lines of what happened.
Yeah. So I think, again, the Morkborg kind of things, this is like a sci-fi horror kind of version of it. They're always kind of interesting. So kind of glad to see, they can give more support to this then. So if you're interested in it, definitely, the Kickstarter's up there for the year, for their coming back from Stasis. Right. So I got a cool... Come on, there we go. We got a new Star Trek Adventures book for 2nd edition. It's their exploration guide. Cool. I mean, this is the... It's a classic Trek kind of thing. I mean, exploration is the central theme of Star Trek. So a guide on that is not a bad thing to have. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's their 5-year something, doing something. Who knows what they were actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah. A bunch of character options, some cool traits.
You kind of just...
The thing is, I ignored it because you're not wrong. It is just they're doing something. It's an excuse to go out there and have some kind of like story of the week exploration that's kind of neat. It really ends up being that 95% of the time. It's like, why are you there? I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun episode of you being someplace you probably shouldn't have been. Yeah, they have, of course, advice and random tables to populate things like star systems and stuff. Random tables! For star exploration. Woo!
Ooh.
I think both of us love a good random table.
Didn't we talk? Wait, hold on. Why does that sound familiar? Did we talk about this already? I think we might have talked about it when it was they announced it.
Ooh. I can't check my notes to be sure. My notes don't exist anymore, at least from quite a while. So I can't check my notes to make sure, but maybe we did. I don't know. We also might have talked about
Star Trek 712, Star Trek Exploration.
Okay, so we did talk about it a couple months.
I looked in your docket page.
3 months ago we talked about when they announced it. So this is finally out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So if you want to copy in old topics, you can go and copy in your dockets from there.
I really, that's what I was thinking about. I don't do that for sure. Like, I know it's there and I can just do it. I can copy it from the Discord, but I'm just like, maybe I'll do that eventually. I at least got the deeper discussion topics on my on the thing, but
yeah.
Then I have.
So we did talk about this.
Okay, cool, but it's out now officially.
I like their stellar, name the sector, assign systems. Yeah, so they do have some system building stuff going on. I'm a sucker nerd for this. Like, I'm gonna have to hold on.
I love a good random table. I'm not gonna lie. Random tables are the best. What was it?
Don't mind me. I'll be able to talk more about it and give me like 5 minutes.
Hey, look. Again, as I was saying, random tables are the thing I love the best. I just look to, I think it was Pathfinder 1E. Excuse me. Sorry, all of a sudden there, choking. The Game Master Guide just had such wonderful random tables that I've used them in many places, include like random bar generation of like just tables where it's like, here's the name, here's some unique things about it, you know, here's the kind of like special the bar would have, and it's just like, bars are used so many times. I haven't used this much lately just because opening up the entire thing just takes a while, so I haven't gone and done that. But it was just such a fun time of random things. So there, I'm definitely some random tables for some space exploration sounds really fun. I'm down for it.
I agree.
Space. So yeah, Star Trek Adventures. That's that one there. I guess if we want to kind of circle back, we can for a second. But why don't we pop on to the next one in the meantime? Especially if you're getting
okay.
And that's just a simple one, also from Modiphius, which Fallout Factions is getting a starter set. So this is an interesting one, and I do like this here. And a starter set for Fallout Factions is a miniatures-based thing, because Fallout Factions, if you don't know, this is the Wasteland Warfare. This is one of their miniatures games, but but you could use the stuff from Fallout Factions to run Wasteland Warfare, because they're also doing a second edition of that, which Wasteland Warfare is their kind of hybrid of the RPG video game with their miniature stuff. So it's sort of like they have these layers. You have Factions as your basic miniatures game, which they've got a starter set for. Cool. You have Wasteland Warfare, which is a kind of RPG / miniatures game, and then of course they have the Fallout RPG that Modiphius does too. So they got all the 3 layers of it, so you have like different versions of things that like you can kind of dive into. And I find that really cool that they have this kind of like upward thing of this. And even in your normal like Fallout game, if you have those miniatures, you could probably still use them too, but it's not as important there. But anyway, it's the starter.
Oh, I like this. Sorry, continue.
It's going to be Battle for Boston that they're going to be doing. So it's going to have a bunch of miniatures, Brother of Steel, Institute members, rulebook tokens, all the basic things you have to do to know their basic miniatures game they have. So again, and this is again something you can use along with Wasteland Warfare if you do that. Then also the thing, So again, the interconnectedness of Modiphius's Fallout levels I find fascinating, and I love that. It's a kind of cool way of doing things that you go from miniatures game to RPG, and you have something in the middle. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they. I don't think they do it at all, but I wonder if they would have that for something for like Warhammer. I don't hear about that because everybody just does. You play Warhammer or you play the Warhammer RPG. I don't know if they have that middle ground there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'm using some of this if I ever do Traveler stuff.
It is as wondrous as it seems like it would be.
No, it's actually pretty slimmed down from Traveler's one they made.
Okay.
But there's still some cool stuff like spatial phenomena and other stuff, and then like planetary generation. They have some cool stuff. I like Travelers because it's okay. Traveler's World Builder's Handbook is like, this is what I now compare everything to, is like so over the top detailed that you actually have to do like math to like get everything properly. This doesn't do that, which is probably a good thing.
It's probably, I would then describe it as something that's kind of maybe like a little bit in the direction of that without going too far. It's sort of like, I think with Star Trek, because the exploration's important, but it's not the focus. I think like Traveler focus is a little bit more on that like space, that version of it, doesn't it?
The difference is that this is more focused on exploration, meaning you don't want to have to spend 2 hours to make one system.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like, it gives you the basic things so you can get to the exploring part of it and find all these places and discover all these places rather than going very deep into something where you might just sort of run into it and have to deal with all the stuff. Interesting. Okay. I get you. I understand.
And I also like the very, very fun thing where they mentioned it's like, oh, there can be this, a ton of stars in an area, but this is to generate how many notable ones there are in the area. And I really like that concept because it allows them to actually not, stars, like 90% of all stars are like just red, are just the red dwarf stars, which are like super uninteresting and probably don't have a ton of life, which is why they go into like, which is why they talk about number of notable systems. And they don't actually, they do mention as a side point, and they're like, oh, everything else is probably like M-type stars, which is red dwarfs, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
There are probably a lot of star systems, but most of them are just places that you're not exploring for like planets and stuff. Not that you couldn't have a M-type star with some interesting things there, but that would be more like you're having your space exploration thing going on. Well, that's something's in the star system rather than like your away mission.
M-type stars are still half of the die on the die you roll. So but you got to remember it should be 90. Like if you're rolling, everything other than a 19 or 20 should be an M if you're like doing it by actual statistics, But they do like 1 to 12, which is still a good chunk, but. They're like, yeah, the rest aren't interesting.
Well, I see what they're doing. They're kind of keeping things simple and easy and interesting still, enough.
Let's be real. If everything you went to was like the same, it would not be interesting.
Yeah, true. We have the proper variety of things. Proper variety. Thank you very much. So
yeah, I really do like this though, because they focus a lot less on like how to find all the details and more just like the kind of stuff you might want to have for an adventure. I think this is actually okay. It's funny because I saw a complaint on the page of the World Builder's Handbook that they made, Traveler, and they were like, yeah, this book is completely useless. It would take me forever to make a full sector. And I'm like, it would take me like years to make a full sector. I'm like, he's not wrong. Granted, the book does give you guides on how to go into only certain amounts of detail, but this, in my opinion, is probably a better bridge between detail and usefulness for a GM.
Yes, I think it's that thing of like, it's not necessarily bad to have that much detail, because sometimes you want that much detail, but there is like a level that sometimes can be a little too much, and I think that's kind of where they're trying to skate that line successfully. I think it's the kind of the idea on it.
Yeah. And I love that they go into like biomes and interesting areas of different types of planets. For example, a desert planet, and they go into things like canyons, dune seas, grasslands, plateaus, scrublands, like...
And the thing is, that's an important thing too, because just because the planet has low amounts of water doesn't mean it has different environments that can vary dramatically. And there's probably areas of water too. And I think it's sort of like, it's not the Star Wars planets.
Yeah.
There's still other areas.
Yeah. It's desert planet doesn't mean only sand. It probably does bring up sandstorms and sulfur springs and static storms and stuff that you might run into. But it's like, yeah, they go into the different, So I think it's cool because it's like they focus on also a bit of the biology. The Traveler one does not. That focuses mostly on society and like physics and like the actual planetary makeup rather than biomes. But I like the biome touch because that is another important thing for exploration.
Yeah.
Life and the life on the planet.
Hey, seek out new life, new civilizations, and boldly go. Oh, one has gone before. Sorry, I had
This is a book I will read in full when I'm bored at work.
Cool. All right. Well, we have one final topic today, and that is because Fantasy Flight is releasing a bunch of stuff related to Star Wars. First off, they are releasing something related to the deck building game, but that's not the important one. No, we are going to have some unlimited power. Actually, the secrets of power for the Star Wars Unlimited game. So I know very little of Star Wars Unlimited, other than it exists. It is a trading card game, and I know very little about it, other than it has had some moniker of some success here. I'll give the article about it here. It's like one of those weird ones where I'm like, yeah, it's out there and being good, and I'm glad that Fantasy Flight is having some good support of it, because I think Fantasy Flight went through some stuff, So, having them back and, like, again, that stuff they went through is related to their parent company being an Embracer group. That entire thing with the Embracer and stuff that happened, and now things are better for it. It's kind of like they weren't doing the Star Wars RPG, but now kind of are again, because they've kind of fixed things with the entire rights and stuff. Anyway.
I hope. Yeah, is that back up? That's actually.
I think they're selling it again, but I don't know if they're doing more stuff for it. I thought that's what was going on.
I just hope that they.
I don't know exactly what's going on. I know that they're still doing Star Wars stuff, so it's not like they don't have Star Wars license. I just don't know if we'll see more of the RPG, because there's some pretty cool ideas with it. It wasn't the easiest system when I remember learning about it, but it wasn't a terrible.
The website still says out of print.
Then we'll see if they actually with things in Star Wars being a little bit better, if they're actually going to come revisit it. I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll have a pre-release booster box, 2 spotlight decks, booster packs, and Carbonite Edition booster packs, because everybody's got to have your collector's booster. Thanks, Magic. Oh, thanks, Magic. Anyway, I don't know if Magic was the first one to do that, though. I will note that, but they're the ones that definitely have popularized it more lately. But they're going to do multiple eras worth of stuff. It's cool. It's neat. It's a 280 card set if you do the Star Wars Unlimited game. So that's coming out in November. Again, it's one of those things is, I'm okay. I like it when a lot of these people, a lot of the games continue to print material. It means the game is at least relatively healthy, and I like having more things than Magic out there.
Actually, I just realized this is good because, was this also going through an error or issue, or?
I don't know how much. I don't know. There were weird things apparently with the Star Wars license with Fantasy Flight. I don't know all of what was going on with it.
If I had to guess, it's probably it was with our parent company. And then, is probably what happened. And then the, parent company dissolved, and they kind of got thrown on their own. And
I think technically part of the Asmodee again, as Asmodee is its own thing, because Asmodee was eaten by Embracer, but Asmodee has its tendrils into sub-companies. I don't know the proper term that they're using here, but like Fantasy Flight is one of those ones under Asmodee, along with a number of others. Like Can-Tan, I think, is also under Asmodee. I guess producers, publishers. Again, we hear about in the video game industry too, like, you know, the big companies that they have like subgroups under them that they like studios they own and stuff like that. And I think so. It's like Fantasy Flight's like a studio though too. Or they, I think some of them broke. I don't think Fantasy Flight broke independent. Fantasy Flight games. What's going on with you? Do you have a good place to learn about what's going on? It is company type division. So it's a division of Asmodee North America. Okay, so it still is a division of that, officially. And yeah, that's the weird thing is, Edge Entertainment was supposed to take on their RPG related stuff.
Yeah, I just found that.
But that never happened.
Their website. Yeah, and they don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't.
Basically.
It's so weird. Yeah, they're still working on Star Wars Unlimited, at the very least.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh no, that's the name of the thing. I thought I saw fully operational. I'm like, wait, and I'm like, oh no, that's just the name of the book.
Oh, that's right. And Star Wars Unlimited is the newer trading card game that came out with it last year. Yeah. So
yeah, okay. So it is a new thing that they probably got a new license for.
They had an older collectible card game, Star Wars Destiny, that they were doing back from 2016 to 2020, and I'm guessing everything that happened between 2020 and 2024, which there's a lot of things in the real world and a lot of things in the Embracer / Asmodee world that happened, and so it's like now they're finally like in a stable position as of last year, and so they came out with Unlimited, which again, I'm not sure what we're all going to get, because aren't they still? I'm not gonna lie, I'm like pretty sure they're still putting out some miniatures things and they weren't supposed to. I'm pretty sure I saw on there. I think I'm gonna go back.
No, I actually saw that they still had the license to make board game material.
Yeah. Unlimited, Time Imperium, Arkham Heart. So I guess they're just doing the card games and stuff though too. I guess they are done the interest-related stuff, because they're doing a bunch of different card games and stuff. It just looks like. All right. I guess they really are done with the it theoretically is moved to another place, but we don't see it move to another place. So it's kind of one of those things.
Well, Edge Studio does have Star Wars on their website. They just don't sell anything, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of it's just in a weird spot for all their other stuff that was them.
Yeah. Before,
I'm sure Daddy or Mommy and Dad / Daddy Asmodee / Embracer told them focus your stuff, and that's why I'm pretty sure they were just told to focus, and so they did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was. That's why 2020, because Asmodee moved the stuff and changed Fantasy Flight to a core board game, dice card game, the three types of games that there are now, and moved their other stuff like their miniatures game and stuff away. And then it was 4 years of a mess when Asmodee chose to do this, and now we don't know what's happened to all that kind of stuff. So it's like those. Yeah. I think the Star Wars miniatures game was pretty neat, and I think it was pretty cool. Same with these are things that I remember hearing about years and years ago that were pretty neat, the X-Wing game and stuff like that, which were kind of cool and now aren't really in existence. Maybe, I don't know how much they are.
Again, I think I saw they had licenses for board game stuff still. Granted, I don't know when that was. It was just something I saw. I didn't look at a date. Probably should have.
Yeah. Are you still being supported? X-Wing Miniatures game. I'm just trying to find out if it is. It doesn't look like it. I think it's just. It's inactive now.
Okay.
So it's like the miniatures games were moved away and basically went inactive. At least one of them was. I don't know about the other one, but again, I liked a lot of the stuff that Fantasy Flight did. I'm glad they're at least doing something. Again, I'm not collecting any other CCGs, but like if someone had some decks and wanted me to learn that, I'd probably be down to play it kind of thing. And I'm glad it's being supported. Thumbs up.
Oh, wait.
Ugh. Wait.
You can buy Star Wars stuff on Asmodee's website. Wait, hold on. Let me double check that doesn't say out. Yeah, no, it allows me to add it to a cart. So yeah. So Star Wars stuff is happening, but not through Fantasy Flight. At least not the RPG. So the RPG went to Edge, but Asmodee is the one still selling. I don't know what's going on. Anyway.
Hey, cool. So we learned stuff. We explored deep, and while talking about some interesting product. Here.
Oh. Never mind. I see some of it's sold out, so it must just be their backlog. I just realized. Well, put all the sold out stuff at the end. And like the core rulebook is sold out and stuff, so.
Okay.
So never mind. Yeah, so it's still not really being in print anywhere. It's not really being made right now. Nothing's being added. But technically Edge has it. Fantasy Flight still has it on their website for some reason. And Asmodee has it on their website too.
Cool. All right. I got a deeper discussion topic for today. An interesting one, and it was one I thought about, but I put it down as a way, but I want to kind of discuss what it is. I'm just giving the wrong options to your players as today's deeper discussion topic. What do I mean by this? Well, here's the thing, and I thought about this, and it wasn't necessarily the wrong option, but it was the more difficult option that I needed time to set up. On Wednesday, I gave you guys 3 options, because I thought those were the best, well, not best, but the most general 3 options players would come up with. And again, this is the kind of thing you can't predict what players will come up with. You have to kind of sometimes, when they're presented with a problem, be ready to adapt to that. But usually, when you present problems, you present them in certain ways to be like, hey, either come up with something on your own, or these are your things that, and there's the level of difficulty. And basically you guys went, let's go combat.
So here's the thing.
Which was fine. I just had to set up stuff for it, you know?
You talked about smuggling. That was the one I hadn't thought of, but I had thought of the 2 other, which is to escape through the tunnels, escape through the sewers. There's got to be a way out of the city through the sewers, and the other way, which was disguise. But I realized disguise wouldn't work. They did the smuggling thing. It's clear that's the way you were expecting us to go.
You could have tried disguise too. I think disguise could have worked. It would have been hard. That would have been the hardest.
With two people who don't have social skills, it would have been the hardest.
I think I think that's where the problem was, the lack of social skills. But the thing is, you probably could have gotten some help from the Thieves Guild for either of those other 2 to make up for your lack of social abilities.
Yeah.
Like, you had people that would have been willing to help you, basically, for the other 2.
Yeah. The smuggling, I'm gonna be honest, it's more, if I'm gonna be out of character, it's more like Ixpanor didn't really trust the Thieves Guild.
That's fine, actually.
Yeah. And that's kind of, but that's why he also wanted to get out his frustration. That wasn't a lie either. But,
and here's
like, I want to blast some things. And then he was like, wait, why did I do this?
Here's the thing,
the moment he got into it.
When I presented all those, I honestly expected if you weren't going to take the first 2, you would have come up with something on your own. But then you went the combat one, I'm like, oh. Because Because again, like,
well,
I was half ready for combat. I was like, well, they are there. It's that one thing of like, you want to make sure to establish options, but it's like you can never predict players to do something. But is that the wrong option? Kinda, but not. It's sort of like, I established it as being something very deadly and dangerous, and they still want to do it. So if I did not make it deadly and dangerous, I would have been cheaping out on what I tried to establish. But then making it deadly and dangerous means then we have the possibility of things like character death. And that kind of issue with that entire thing. And it's supposed to be a very difficult journey. Like, I chose the hard route. If it's not hard, then that's not good. Well, but also, like, then...
There is kind of a thing is where Ixpreneur was like, they're probably overblowing it. You know, like... and it could have been that, you know, like, it could have been underwhelming. Underwhelming sometimes is an interesting twist. But, honestly, I was hoping to sneak a little bit more, because everyone in our party does have stealth. So I was hoping to sneak by more. If we run into trouble, we can sneak by it. You know, is more my thought. But
I mean, I could have seen that, but the thing is, like, you never specifically were like, we're stealthing everywhere, too.
I mean, yes, I did. We all technically were using avoid notice as like a thing, but I get that. Honestly, it doesn't bother me that there was combat. It doesn't bother me that they saw us, and it doesn't bother me that, like,
I just think it's so, like...
It wasn't very clear, and that's the other thing, too. We didn't make that clear. I had a thing in my mind, but also that's also always on my mind, is not being
But then that's
seen.
The thing is, it was an option you were going to talk about. Because, as you said, in your mind, trying to travel underground through the sewers or kind of something was an option. So it's not, like, necessarily bad that I was thinking about it, discussing it. But it is that kind of catch-22 of, like, you will have problems that will kind of second-guess yourself of, like, presenting... And this is one of those ones where I think it was okay in all retrospect. But it does make me think of, would have there been an option that I could have presented to you? And the answer is yes. That would have been a very terrible one and kind of, like, you know, pushed for that. You know, it's that kind of thing of, like, sometimes you put ideas in players' heads, sometimes they come up with ideas on their own. And
I think that's another thing is... Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
And my thought is, when you are thinking as the person building the world and giving options, you don't always have to give all those options to players. Because some of those options... I
was gonna say that.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes into... Yes, you don't always have to give all those options.
Yeah, like, it might have been better had you been like, hey, do you guys have a... It's like, well, you guys want to get out. Well, do you have a way of getting out? I might be able to help you with it.
Hmm.
You know, like, rather... And basically be like, well, and then we could have asked, like, well, how can you help us? And then you would have been like, well, if you decided to go this route, we could do this, or this route, we could do this. And then it's like, but there might be other ways, you know, like, you can kind of lead the players into coming up with their own idea, and if they really start to ask for help, then you give it to them.
It would have been more... I think I could have taken the conversation in a different direction, because it was already... You were already talking about getting out, and they could have been like, we can do certain things to help you out. Whatever your ideas, we could assist you is the way I could have said it. You know, it's like, well, it's like, we have been told to assist you. We can do certain things to assist you, but we don't know how you want to try to get out of the city. We have some suggestions. Yeah. I could have said, we have a few suggestions on things that we can do, you know, and that could have been the two that were the ones that they could do. And then if there was another option, we could have handled that, you know, be like, oh, that area is sealed off. There's things there that, like, you know, if they got in here, would just kill us all, you know, horrible monsters and undead monstrosities, you know.
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna be honest, you did not make, like, you're like, they said, oh, it's terrible, and, like, there's terrible things down there, but you actually didn't make it sound as dangerous as I think you did.
I thought I said more danger than I did. I agree on that one. Yes. Because, again, like, until we got there, I hadn't established they were going to seal you in there.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the thing, like, saying we seal it off because we don't want the things getting in. No, it's just like, oh, okay, wait, that's different than like, because then, oh, a thing comes in every now and then and we kill it, and that's why we know there's monsters over there.
It's like,
like those are two very different scenarios.
Like, we know there's ways in and out of there, but they're very difficult to travel in, so nothing really gets out through them, or it gets out rare enough that there's not really a problem. But this is the main tunnel in there that kind of connects to where Thievington was, so it's like kind of like really open, so they had to seal it off because that one would have been like, this is like the biggest place into it. Like, there's probably like small like tunnels here and there that like, big creatures wouldn't really get through, or like wouldn't be very easy for things to get through without like tools and stuff, maybe need some rope to get through some of these places, which there isn't supply, you've just undead creature down there, it doesn't have a rope, but there are ways I could have definitely established this a little bit better, and I definitely agree on that one there. And that's, again, this comes back to, it wasn't in this case the wrong decision, because I was always planning, if you went that way, a difficult fight. But again, like, I did technically taper back the fight a little bit there too. I kind of changed things how I was going to do it originally for my ideas for like what was there.
That's fine. I mean, here's kind of the other thing too. You can present ideas that we don't see, or that, especially if we don't want to see. Like, let's say you hear a roar from a creature and you have no idea like what it is, and like we might not run into that creature unless we go looking for it. Then you have to have an idea. So you make sure you have an idea if you do that kind of thing. Yeah. And then you could have been like, oh, you see claw marks that dig an inch into the stone. Yeah. Oh, you come across you come across kind of a drop down, and below you see a giant monster which is snapping up at you, but it can't get to you. Like, there are ways to make this place seem a lot more dangerous without actually making it more dangerous.
There are things like that too, and that comes down to, that comes down to how well and how quickly you are to improvise things. Like, I'm okay.
Or how much you prepared, because it does sound like you just didn't prepare as much because you didn't think we would take that option.
I'm not gonna lie, I basically came up with 3 quick ideas, like, that I was like, okay, we can kind of present these to the players and stuff like that. Though, the entire half the session dealing with the thing that you got by random chance was funny to me. Because
that was funny.
I had you roll to figure out which of the things that were stolen, which of the boxes, and the serial killer one was rolled, and
I loved that.
I'm like, okay, you were either gonna get the drunk fornicating people's thing, that one, or there was gonna be another one that I thought about for, like, was gonna be a third option, just as, like, that would have been a little bit more just treasure or something like that from someone that wasn't there at the time. They just didn't move.
Yeah, but I think, and also it's all like, man, those are some terrifying items. It's like, man, a dagger that can trap someone's soul in an object, and something that can cleave through flesh. I'm curious as to what those are going to do.
They're very horrible and evil, and I don't know if you're going to use them. But again,
well, fun fact though, I looked up like if there's something like that in Pathfinder 2e. And there is it's a soul trap one, and it's a 9th level spell to trap a soul in an item.
I think the thing is, for these at very least, I'll kind of say, like, they're meant to be used on someone that is basically disabled and not in combat,
Oh, I get that. Yeah. It's definitely this kind of thing where it's all, and I mean, it's meant to be. I mean, the other thing is meant to be used on someone who is like dead or dying. But anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah. But or was it? I actually don't remember. I might have been. I may be thinking of something in 2e, AD&D 2e, because I've been looking at spells all week. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to my game. But yeah, in the end, I think it's fine. I would have suggested we go through the sewers anyway, because I didn't want to necessarily... And that's the thing. I didn't really explain Ixpanor's point of view as much as I probably should have, because we kind of jumped straight from the discussion to, okay, you prepare and now you're in. It's like, wait, hold on, okay. Like, I would have been down with having a talk with them about it after we left the meeting room or something.
Again, I think there's a lot of circumstances of the session because it's sort of like we were about on break and I was like, I guess I'm preparing this now, kind of thing like that. So I've got to like get everything together that I didn't have, you know, and put some things together.
I mean, you also gotta learn the powerful art of stall. It's like, okay, you guys, like, I don't have this prepared. I'd like to wait for it to be next session. What can happen in the meantime?
Again, it was one of those things is, like, we'd already spent a bunch of time there with the entire box thing, and if we weren't on stream, I think I would have stalled more. But with being on stream,
That's
I
fair.
didn't want to, like, have it stalled too much, because I already had, like, half a session dealing with horrific cursed objects.
It was fun, though. That part was fun.
I'm not saying it wasn't fun, but it's sort of like, that's like, we needed to like kind of move on, and that's why like, I figured like, you know, action maybe, and even like, getting into the things where like, you know, disguising or smuggling could have led to combats too, you know, like with the forest and stuff like that.
Because basically, as we were talking, there were two things that came into my head, and that was, I don't want to do the upper routes, because it's very clear that Calder's bloodthirsty, and I don't want a big fight with guards as well. That was another thing that went through my head. Like, there was a bunch of things going through my head, and I don't feel like I was able to, you know, it would have been interesting to discuss them with the group before but oh well.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to, you know, you have to...
Yes, we were set on that path, but we weren't so set on the path. Anyway, it's fine. Like, and that's the other thing, too. Sometimes, like, when your players choose, you can sometimes let them talk about it more to, like, get them to get them to pick something else. That's another thing.
With the kind of setup of what's going on, it just was a kind of situational kind of thing, and that's kind of where it is. And again, it wasn't necessarily a wrong choice, but it's one of those things that makes me think of that could have been a wrong choice sometimes that you have to worry about, because everything you think of as the person running the game will go beyond what the players think of to a degree. Players can be creative and come up with different routes, but normally players will come up with different routes that may deal with something, or some kind of crazy plan that would be like completely outside the box. But like, you have the box, you can decide on the sides of the box, and sometimes the side of the box, if you're like, well, theoretically in my setup, this could happen here, you know, it's like I could have said like, you know, there's like 30-foot long giant sewer crocodiles that are sealed off into these massive tunnels that are over there that just patrol the area and have like they can smell your fear or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want to go fight those things, but like, if I'd established something like that beforehand, then yeah, that would have made it very difficult. But honestly speaking, sometimes you do establish stuff in that world. Or I could have made notes about that as a thing, you know? And then it's sort of like, well, if I change that then? That was something I made for my world, you know?
It's kind of this funny thing where this is one of the few times where the option that we had the least information about actually sounded the best. Because, because that's the thing, like, the other two options both sounded terrible. Because, like, oh, the guards are on high alert. They're checking a lot of stuff going out. Oh, they're looking closely at faces right now. You know, it's like, all of these things are like, those two, you make them sound like, oh yeah, we do them, but do I really trust that you think you can? Like, do I really trust that you can?
It was one of those things, too, is the way I was thinking about it was, yes, the guards were on alert, but me, as the GM, knew that they weren't as alert as the characters were thinking, you know? Because there's other problems they're dealing with in a lot of places, so it's sort of like, it's not as intense as it probably your characters would think about, because of like your experience that you had. And I think that's one of those things too.
Okay, I will say the person who mentioned the alert was the person we were talking to, the lady, Jezebel.
And again, I'm not saying that they weren't on alert, but like, you know. It's mentioning that your imaginations went deeper than like, you know, what it was to a degree. And that was kind of an interesting thing.
Yes. And I think sometimes there are things like that where you can take a step back and go, hey, you would recognize that, you know, sometimes you got to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just this thing where it's all like, it's kind of this thing where it's like, when you give your players options, be prepared for them to take them. Like, that's the thing. In fact, actually, players are. This is actually something that's very important. People, in general, are more likely to take an option if there are 3 in front of them, even if they are told they can take something else, or if there are options in front of them. That is actually human psychology. If you put options in front of people, even if you say, "Oh, you can take anything else you want," they're more likely to pick the options actually given.
Oh, okay. See, this is my lack of psychological knowledge. Definitely helps.
Yeah, so that is actually something important to note. Is like, if you want your players to come up with an idea, do not give them an idea. Otherwise, they will take that idea.
It's sort of like I could have, again, presenting you with, you can come up with an idea, but there is possible suggestions, is rather than giving an option, sort of like, hey, we're good at, making some disguises or smuggling.
Yeah.
That's our skills. So if you'd want to take advantage of those kind of things, sure, we could help you out with that.
And the reason I think that's a little bit better is because I did feel like, and that's the thing, you kind of start to feel like, okay, well, these are the only 3 options we have. And that's actually where my mind went after a little bit.
And I can see that there too, because like that.
Yeah, even though I already had 2 of those ideas, and I was leaning towards the underground one anyway, it was kind of this thing where it's like, oh, okay, so these are what the GM has prepared. And then we pick one and you go like, I didn't have that prepared. I'm like, why'd you offer it then?
It was the thing of, I offered it because, like, that was the lore-wise, it is a thing that exists, rather than this is the thing I prepared, And again, that's a story versus, I guess, substance. Would that be kind of the way you'd say it? Or
I don't know. I actually have no idea where you're going with that. So,
story versus mechanics, maybe. I don't know.
Basically, it's one of those things where you talk about something, and then the players instantly want to go and find that thing, even though that thing doesn't technically have any stats or relevant.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's sort of like, you have to be careful about that. That's exactly, you kind of have to be careful about that. That was one of those things, sort of like, it's there, it's a thing, but it's not like going to be that important, but okay.
Yeah. And that's just the way players work sometimes. Yeah, but that is a real psychological thing. In fact, the reason I know about it is because I saw a whole thing about that's the whole problem with like police lineups and stuff, or those photo lineups where they have like options, because people feel like they have to pick one, but then once they pick it, they get set on it. Meaning, if they're then showed the real picture later, they'll pick the previous one. And so it's kind of this thing where it's all like, and then, so it's this whole psychology thing. But yeah, that's where it kind of comes from, and I talked about it. But yeah, it was basically like, if you're given options, you're more likely to pick an option. If you're not given options, then yeah. So that's why I think, in general, if your idea is to be freeform, don't give your players options. If your idea is to actually like, here's what I have prepared, give them the options.
Yeah. It's finding a balance between those things, and again, like, getting it back to kind of where I was with the original thing here is, it's hard to back yourself into bad options that you can't do anything with. Not impossible.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge to do. I think that is an important thing to think about this too. Sort of like, you can do it, but it is like you might feel like sometimes it is a wrong option that you've accidentally presented to your players, but just figure out ways to deal with it. You can adapt things in little bits, or like little ways, and like do things about it, or like, again, it comes down to then you have to improvise a little bit, maybe,
I mean, it's gonna be hard to do on the spot, but sometimes you do have to like think outside the box. Like, what if like we know there's ruins under the city, not just these sewers. What if some giant monster that we have no chance of defeating chases us, and we do like a chase scene, and then we and that's the other another thing you could do is you can maybe make it a chase. Like, it's not something we can fight, so we chase. Not
gonna lie, I like that idea. The thing is, I'm not sure how that mechanically works in Pathfinder 2.
There are chase rules.
Oh, cool. My confidence is maybe not the most.
It uses the same kind of exceptional success give +2. Those like that counting where exceptional success is +2. exceptional failure is -2, and then like the other 2 are fine, you know. So it's like it uses. They have a standard system which they use for all of their like tracking things, which I actually like. I actually think it is on par with the what is that called? The encounter. What is that thing called? The thing that Fori introduced. I'm blanking. Skill challenge. There we go. I think it's on par with the skill challenge system introduced in 4E, which everyone uses. Granted, I haven't used it, so I don't know if players actually like it, because that's the other thing too. Players tend to really like the skill challenge thing. This thing, no idea. I haven't actually seen it used, but I suspect it'll be nice, just based on reading through it.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that's kind of the thing where it's all like, there are options. I agree with that. If your players didn't listen to a warning,
yeah.
Actually, this is actually something. Who was this? I want to say it was. If it wasn't Matt Colville, it was the guy. How to be a great game master guy. He had a whole video about your players trying to go to an area that they're not ready for, and like one of the whole things his example, whichever one it was, I think it was the How to Be a Great Game Master guy. Now I'm thinking about it, but Guy, that's his name, Guy. And he was like, oh yeah, your players see a dragon, and they were like, and then you're like, okay, well they are not their first level, they won't be able to kill the dragon. Then you're like, oh, adventure comes with them, and it's like, oh, it clearly looks more powerful than your allies, and then you have that guy get eaten, and then it's like you kind of can do things to kind of show your players that there's gonna be problems. Before a point.
There are things you can do, but again, like it does hem on your ability to improvise, which you will have to have some of and keep working on it. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but again, it's one of those things. Is like, even myself, I'm okay at improvising, but I definitely know there's places I can be better on it. And it's kind of like that thing of the conversation we had. I wasn't thinking of presenting information a certain way. I was being just forefront information here, and that makes a difference on how things work a lot of times. And it's that kind of thing that you have to almost keep in your mind for these conversations that you're developing, and the way they are. Because again, like, I'm not gonna lie, I let you know about the contact. I did not know what you were going to talk about that contact with. It was just a contact that you had in the town, Were you going to go ask them for help? Sure, they knew about you, but that was about it. But you, honestly speaking, 2 of you did not know that Jezebel knew about you. The 2 people that had talked to the owl. The other 2 people were just like, you can talk to Jezebel if you need anything from those 3 idiots. That was it. So it's kind of hard to tell where exactly all the players are going to go sometimes. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, so it's a whole thing. You definitely have to be careful as a GM. Honestly, that's the thing. When it comes to options, like, this is more of the curse of the GM than it is an actual thing. When you give your players options, they will always pick the one you least want them to pick.
Yeah.
That is just the rule of DMing. There's no statistics, no reason why that might be the case. I think it's just players recognize subconsciously.
Mm-hmm. Like, even said, I should have let you make choices. And, like, even if I wanted to present options, I could have been like, well, I don't think you can disguise to get your way out of here. They're at least looking at some people when they're leaving. So, kind of like, she could have just looked at you and been like, I don't think you guys are great at disguises. And it's like, well, I mean, if you need some help from us, we could smuggle you out. I don't know what else you do. That would have presented one option and said, you have other options you could come up with. So it's sort of like, this is the option we can do very easily. And then if you asked about any of the other things, we could have.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would have then asked, like, well, is there not a way out through the sewers?
Yeah.
Like.
And that would have led to a better conversation about it. That would have probably presented more information. And again, this comes down to how you present this information. It could be that you can still present a wrong option, but if you present it in the right way, that you're like, you building your world, this exists here, but I'm presenting it in a way that will definitely discourage players from it, that's better than I just put it in front of my players and then it's a carrot dangled in front of them.
Yeah, because that's the thing. When you as the GM present options, players assume all of them are equally likely or equally viable.
We're given you ask questions and then are presented with something. It's the thing that the person didn't think of first, so they, as a person, thought you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah. But then
also,
if the players insist, let them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if the players insist, let them, because honestly, that's part of the fun of RPGs. Don't be like, no, you can't do that. It's like,
it's the thing is,
like, I would highly discourage you go through there. That is a very dangerous area. It's all like, I think we can handle it. Okay. Just before you go, mark a little X, marking a tally showing how many people have died in there. You know, it's
yeah, it's the thing of, there are wrong options, there are never wrong choices. So your players, they are free to take the wrong option. They are free to do that. Whether it gets them killed or not, you know, you present enough, like, if you try to establish it enough, and then usually then it's you trying to present, as we've talked about with suggestions, there are ways to make the players recognize, hey, this was the bad choice to make, without throwing them into the, you know, literal fire. You can do things like the claws on the wall that you're like, maybe we shouldn't be here, you know, or like the horrible noises they hear, or things like that, or like, ooh, what's that down below that can't quite get to us in like a, you know, chasm? Are things like that up with us, or is that just stuck down there? I don't know, you know.
Yeah. Funny enough, actually, too, it might have been a little bit better if they hadn't locked us in, as in like, we're gonna be here, knock in this specific way if you want out.
Yeah, oh, that might have been like,
And then it would have been like, oh, okay, like, they don't think we're gonna do it, you know, make it. Might have actually also been like another thing, because at that point when we were locked in, it's like, well, we picked this option.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Giving them that, like, or saying like, well, we'll stick around here for a little bit, you know, like, you know, that's this is me not thinking of that option, but also like, I mean, like, you know, we're gonna seal this now. Like, again, I think also that's, you guys could have also said like, hey, can you just stick around for a while, like, you know, and just not be on the other side of the door.
What's hard, I'm gonna be honest, what is hard is all of that happened real fast. Like, I didn't even realize 2 days had passed. Like, I you know, like, if you remember, like, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I would have had time to do something.
Because it's sort of like, you know,
like,
guys were like, we're gonna rest for 2 days.
Real fast
yeah. You know.
Well, Joe said, I would like to rest for 2 days. And then we were like, okay, you guys are now being led to this thing. And then it's like, okay, cool. I got my thing from the days of rest. I'm like, wait, how many days? Like, days? You know, so it was like this thing where, and I'm not blaming you as much because it seemed like Joe was completely with it. So I think he had the right idea. But it's just,
I think
not everyone was on the same page.
Yes. I think there was a lot of stuff going on, and it kind of made that kind of a little bit difficult there to maintain it there a little bit.
Yeah, because I think you were trying to get things rolling because you, as you mentioned, you kind of felt like things were a little bit slow that session, so you wanted to speed it up a little bit.
We had kind of spent almost half a session on the box. That's why I was like, we need to at least get somewhere.
Yeah. And I think Joe was completely with what was happening, and you picked up on that, but it was still maybe so.
I didn't pick up on anybody else being a little confused by things, and that was the entire thing.
Yep.
It's like, you know, and that happens too. You know, again,
I'm not blaming you. That is totally normal. Like, that happens all the time.
Yeah. But again, you can see how it is that the way you present information to your players makes a difference on the choices they make, whether they go along with choices or not. Again, you can never determine what they do, but you can make a choice more appealing by the way you present it.
Yep.
Even by chance, you know?
Well, again, and by even just listing off choices, you make those options more appealing.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing I think you can take away from this, is that, Like, if you want your players to be improvisational with their idea making, then you cannot present ideas. If they ask, then you can give tips. But like,
again, I think presenting one idea that sounds difficult would have been fine, you know.
And that is better. Actually, I don't think I'm trying to remember, but I feel like if you have just one option, if you're told about one option, you are not necessarily guaranteed to pick that option. But if you're given two or more options, then they're almost guaranteed to pick one of those options. There's something about a single option which is like isn't as binding as the two plus option.
Yeah. So again,
in fact, the more options you give as a GM, I think the more likely they are to pick an option and not be creative.
So like, the idea of the wrong option is really the wrong way to present information. You know, I think that's the way it is. And you know, you can still have that dragon over there on the mountain in your world, and your players can find out about it. But the way you present that information sometimes either encourages or discouraging, you know, your players to go to that when they are level 1. You know, if they really are set for it, you're not going to stop them. But again, you present things in a good enough way, they're not probably going to take it, you know, and you can still have that in your world. So, cool.
Yeah, like, there are ways around it. It's basically just, I mean, just know what you're trying to do. Like, and here's the thing. Knowing that players will pick an option if you give it to them is also very good to know. Because if you want them to pick one of a few options because those are what you have planned, that also is helpful to know.
Yeah. So, but there you go. That kind of goes over what happened in Fall of Avonswell, but I thought it was one of those things I thought about, and this is definitely like kind of like the direction I was thinking about this discussion, because it's sort of like, I don't think it was necessarily a wrong decision, but I know I didn't use the, you know, or wrong thing to present it. I know it wasn't presented well, and there was like, you know,
there was a lot,
there was a lot there.
I wouldn't even say there was a lot of miscommunication. I was about to say there's a lot of miscommunication. There really wasn't. It was just, not everyone was on the same page.
Yes.
And it showed in the way things went.
Mm-hmm. So, why don't we talk about our week in tabletop then? We chose game where we were.
We did.
We helped some pirates, sailed out, and went to the city under the waves. And
I'm gonna be honest. The reason for the pirates helping us out is very tenuous, and they're not even pirates. They're more like privateers.
They're I want to call them whalers, but they're technically kraken hunters. But yeah.
No. They weren't. So they weren't. No. So they were in charge. Yeah, they are privateers. They were in charge of keeping the tradeways safe.
Yeah. Which krakens tend to be one of the bigger problems, but it's not the only one.
Yeah, I assume like if there were pirates, they would also go after them. I think they said something about that actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, privateer is probably a better word. But as for why they helped us, I actually have no idea. It's like, oh yeah, their crew was hurt, so we're gonna go on this tiny vessel with you to help you get to your place. What?
Here's the thing.
There wasn't a great logic there.
It wasn't great logic. I know why Joe did it. Joe did it because he's like, you guys technically need a crew, and none of you know how to use the ship, and I don't want to have, like, you rolling dice for this. I just want to make it simple.
Honestly, I understand that idea, and I know that he did that, but it could also just been like, you guys can use it. You know, like, don't worry about it.
Here's what I was actually thinking about doing before he did that. I was going to suggest hiring on some crew from the town. Oh. He presented that before I got to that, because we were busy like figuring out the ship and like what was going on with that, and I was going to have us, you know, we hadn't even gone on board the ship when this kind of entire thing happened. So, you know, I was thinking we were going to have to hire a crew, because I'm like, I fucking don't know what to do with this. You know, we don't have enough people.
My plan was to use Unseen Servant.
So we got to the City Pearls. We're hanging out there. We've given a gift to the ruler. We're gonna have a meeting with them. So things seem like they're going well.
Yeah, it was his birthday, and they just let anyone walk up and give him a gift without checking it at all.
I'm assuming they had magics to detect stuff, but yes, it did seem a little.
I'm assuming Joe didn't think that far ahead.
No. Look, I said in my brain maybe there's magics to it, but yes, Joe definitely didn't think that far ahead for checking gifts and people and stuff like that, or actually checking identities. That was the other thing is we bullshitted identities. They have no way of verifying that. That would have been very weird,
Yep.
I could have seen us having to make a persuasion check or something, or deception check or something, But I don't think we really. I think we've had one check and kind of did that.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. If your game has social roles, please use them, GMs.
I love social roles. I love social roles. I love combat too, but I like both of them.
I'm talking about dice rolls. I feel like in your game we didn't have to do nearly as many as I think we should have. And then in Joe's game, we actually really don't use it very often.
It was one of those things for my game. It's most of the time I just felt like it wasn't necessary, and I think that's the thing too, is sometimes you have to add in those simple rolls even if it's not necessary, and I think that's the thing I have to get better at.
And that's 100%. Players want to use the things that they paid for, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a social character. I think I had a roll, and to be fair, I've also been disguised. This is the thing, you could have had me roll a deception check to look like a normal ferret during that party or something,
You had a costume on. It was wonderful.
I did have a costume on.
Oh, but you could have acted like a normal ferret. That's true.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fine. But it's something I've noticed a lot recently is I feel like it's just, why do I keep putting social stats on characters if GMs aren't going to use them?
Look, I'm not going to lie. I very much understand this as I feel like I don't get a lot out of my social stuff in Joe's game so very often. And I get a lot to it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to automatically be well, I guess I have the automatic kind of 10 at very least, the assurance.
Yeah. I'm going to be fair. Joe's RPG tells me a lot about his thought about social stuff. He has one social skill in his RPG.
He's not
it's all
no.
Yeah, it's so funny, in the RPG he's making that I've complained about already. It's oh, yes, here are 4 combat options, and then you've got, a dozen other, kind of more environmental, sneak, perceptions, that kind of stuff options. Then you have, 3 gambling options, and then you have 1 social option.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing of yeah, for me, I'm definitely the opposite end of the spectrum where I love the social aspect, but I don't give the check chance to influence things as much,
Yes. And that's the thing, and that's really it. It's just yeah, I don't know.
Add a few checks in here and there, just it also breaks up monotony sometimes too. And I think that's the kind of balancing thing that you
and that's actually kind of why I was worried about the cloak and why I was hey, can we edit this to be all diplomacy checks? Because honestly, you've had me roll for influence once, and technically it only applies to those rolls.
That's one of those ones that I'm oh, that only applies to those rolls. That's me not being as realizing and stuff too.
That's why I was hey, do you mind if we edit this to be all because that's it. Yeah, because it's an earlier level item, it's level 4, and you technically don't get your first. It's some of those earlier ones tend to be a lot more conditional.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with the thing where it's oh, they get a bonus to track you equal to your bonus to persuade. I'm that's fun, but because it just makes you well known, the cloak is just that fancy, or something. Yeah, it's just so that anyway. We can talk about that later. Anyway. But where were we? Oh yeah, so we influenced the guy, and then we were making a better gift for him, right?
We wrote a poem about
yeah,
him
you're
and
writing
something.
a poem and you rolled absolute trash.
Yeah, like...
And Joe's like, it'll be fine. And I'm like,
well, it wasn't,
come on.
It wasn't trash, but I rolled very low for me. You know, it was like,
Yeah.
it would have been like, it's still okay technically because I have a big bonus.
Well,
but like,
and then I think I rolled a 1 to help you.
yeah, you just...
No, I rolled a 19 to help you, and then you rolled like a 1 to do your thing. Not a 1, a 2.
Yeah, it was like
I
a
think
2.
it was like a 2.
So I still had like a 15 because I think I had like plus 12 or plus 13 to it. So it's not like it's necessarily bad, but it is very worse. Like it's the worst I could make, which is kind of like one of those things of like, this isn't that great.
Yep.
It's like, it is a lot about this that I'm like, I gotta be honest. The writing poet thing just did seem weird, though, too. Like, I'm like, sure, we'll write that. Seems like an interesting direction, though. Anyway. I think it's fine. We'll see how it goes. We'll have to do that in a couple weeks. We talked about Fall of Evanswell, what kind of happened there. I think that was good enough. We ended up, we're in the middle of the combat there. And then you had your game today.
Yes, so I had my game today. It was a lot of like shopping and maintenance and stuff. We did get attacked by hordes though. As far as I'm aware, it's HORGS. In fact, I actually haven't even looked this up. What are they? Nope. Nope. Oh, there we go. Horde. Okay, so it's HORG. Yeah. Cool. Yep, that's the thing. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was so it's a Horg, and we got attacked by multiple of them, so it was Horgs. Yeah, those things are deadly. Like, they nearly took out, like, our Paladin, who's, like, one of the highest level, who's, like, probably, like, 3rd highest level in the group. And this is a group with 2 players who have been here since the beginning 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like, man, that was okay. It worked out though.
That's good.
I used some illusions to make some fire to make them afraid, and so they were a little bit less gung-ho about swooping at us.
Yeah. Please be less murdery. Please.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. And then I spent all week looking at spells, and then we didn't even get to the point where I got a roll for spells because it was like, we just took so much time doing other stuff, and then Horde attack, and then I didn't have a spell book. I had to buy a spell book, so I had to wait till slightly bigger areas. Got that, and then like, basically that's where we ended. So it's like,
Interesting. Well. I think that was most of what our week in tabletop was. Unless I don't think I didn't do anything else. I don't think you did. Did you?
Beyond looking at spells all week, no.
Okay. That was our week. Fine. All right. Hey, we reached that time of the show. The end of the show. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed.
I do want to say one thing. When I typed in Horgs AD&D, it Google's. Did you mean horse and? Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I don't know why.
Thanks, Google. So I'll turn it over to you, Worm, for your mighty and powerful shout-out.
I am DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter and Blue Sky, and DiamondWyrm9234 on YouTube. Next stream should be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PDT, which would be Sunday. Currently, I'm only streaming twice a week. We'll see if that'll change when life actually gets a little bit calmer.
Yeah, you have to hope for that more calmness. Insanity does that to you. Insanity does that to you. Yes. Anyway, myself, Dan Dracovin. I'll be back on Tuesday. Should be back to a normal schedule. We'll see how things go. It's just been a pretty crazy back end of the week here, so hopefully we'll be able to, I'll be able to get things organized well and put things together in a decent way, and I'll figure it out. That's the best thing I can say right now, just after the insanity of Friday at this point in time, so yeah, hopefully even if you can't get those resolved, hopefully you can figure out everything that you have missing. I think I'll be able to recover at least 80% of it, which is good. But there is like certain things that I definitely know will be missing. I think between the notes that you guys have for Fall of Avonswell, that should be able to provide that stuff pretty well. I think, from the Discussing Tabletop, I got enough there. I kind of put that back together. One of my other things, I got some stuff put it back together. Fall of Avonswell, that's the big one that I got to at least get some notes from you guys at some point in time. So maybe one of these days I might have to sit down with one of you to grab notes, just to fix any notes I'm missing on my end. And even then, I might not have all of them. I'm going to say that there. Definitely, there might be some stuff lost for now, but will it be critical? Probably not. It might be some names of people that you never dealt with or things like that I can always give them new names because you never dealt with them.
I just DM'd you my notes so you can have
Cool.
them.
I'll be able to go through them. And then the stuff for the various episodes, I'll start going through that. I mean, it's just going to be time-consuming to kind of organize all that stuff, and it means I have to put together the new schedule because I only have this week's schedule, which I actually, fortunately, opened pages for this week. So at least I have a schedule for this week for doing videos. I opened pages in my web browser. So yeah, some basic pages to start research. So at least I'm there. I'll see how it goes. But definitely I think in that area there's going to be some stuff missing for like notes for various things that, over the last unfortunate bunch of months were in there and are just gone. So I'm not.
I have to do that research again.
Well, there's other stuff that the one that I do for the tabletop stuff, I put a bunch of other little notes here and there in it, and I think there's just some stuff that's just going to be gone from there. Like, I had, in a section in there, my notes from May the 4th Be with Star Trek. Those notes are gone, then. It's not that they are going to be used again, but I usually keep the notes from each of the years. That one's gone. For this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like this is the thing. Like, it sounds like it was very annoying what you lost, but it doesn't sound at least that detrimental, all things considered. I will say that's it. Yes, it's more incredibly annoying than detrimental because, like, at least most of the major stuff still is there. I think is what they're kind of say about it. So like, and again, it's the version of the document back from February, so it's not that long enough ago, but not so long that a lot of stuff still isn't there, at least. Yeah. All right. I think we'll get going. Check out the rest of the stuff if you haven't. Do the various things to support. And everybody, have a great rest of your weekend, and see you later. Bye.